Tesla went public in 2012. And the Model 3 scaled in 2019. Before that time, from an electric vehicle perspective, which is a big part of the story, and they've done very well there, we needed Elon. His determination not to do things like the traditional auto manufacturers did. So that first part of the story, very important to prevent the bankruptcy everyone was sure that would happen. This next stage, which is autonomous, this is the next big call here. I think we're getting close to full self-driving. The software updates that we've enjoyed recently are making remarkable improvements, and this is what we've learned from artificial intelligence. AI projects that we thought were going to take 10 years to complete, we're completing in 1 to 2 years now. The advances and the speed of advancement in AI is unbelievable. And in fact, as we're trying to size all of the opportunities associated with these 5 platforms, right now they are priced in the global equity markets at roughly $7 to $8 trillion. So less than 10% of the global equity market cap. If we're right, and a plug for our Big Ideas 2022, you can see the building blocks of this, that 7 to 8 trillion is going to scale by 2030 to 210 trillion.
Wow.
So that's up to a 30-fold increase.
Yeah.
And that number actually, because of what's happening with AI, is probably going higher. We were just talking about this in a research meeting yesterday. The seeds for what is happening today and the reason these growth trajectories are going to be so explosive, the seeds for all of this were planted in the 20 years that ended in the tech and telecom bubble. Back then, too much capital chasing too few opportunities too soon. The technologies weren't ready, or they were way too costly. So here we are, 20, 25 plus years later. We've been germinating these technologies, AI, deep learning, the big breakthrough in 2012, before that cloud computing, 2006 with AWS. So these technologies did not exist back then. So we've been germinating these technologies, and now we're ready for explosive growth. What's so interesting from an investor point of view, I just told you, too much capital chasing too few opportunities. They were falling all over each other to make sure that their tech weightings were higher than the next guys and the indexes. So they should have been pulling back, Today, they should be rushing in. And instead, they're heading for the hills, which means they're benchmarks. And in the context of Southeastern, I have described benchmark-style investing, or at least the whole allegiance to it, as worshiping an idol. It's really become an idol in our industry, and it's a very bad idol, because the traditional world order, which it represents, is what I've just mentioned. We believe will be gone, if not disrupted, then destroyed. Well, we think we are in the midst of an explosion in innovation, and we believe there are 5 major innovation platforms evolving right now at the same time. We've never had this before. You have to go back to the early 1900s, telephone, electricity, automobile. Today we have genomic sequencing, robotics, energy storage, artificial intelligence, and blockchain technology. And we believe they are going to converge, actually. So we don't have individual technologies doing one S-curve at a time. We've got S-curves feeding S-curves. Just to give you an example of that, autonomous taxi platforms. That's the convergence of 3 of those platforms. Robotics, autonomous vehicles are robots. Energy storage, they will be electric, and artificial intelligence, they'll be powered by AI. Now, that industry or that particular platform accounts for basically 0 revenue today. By the year 2030, we think it will be a $9 to $10 trillion revenue generating opportunity. So what we usually say is, get on the right side of change, because these platforms, and they involve 14 different technologies, they're all creating exponential growth trajectories. They're going to be transformative, but they're going to be very disruptive to the traditional world order. Innovation is the great leveler. The most seasoned experts are all new. Experts in any particular topic historically are all new to these innovation platforms. So it really gives young people a wonderful opportunity to get on the right side of change and move up very quickly.
Sure.
What I would do is make sure I do the research, and I'll put a little plug in for ours since we give all of our research away. It's on ark-invest.com. And there you will find how to get on the right side of change, or at least where to go.
Sure.
Now, and so I think what it will require longer term is a multidisciplinary education.
Yeah.
And because of these convergences. So I would certainly think about that. But in terms of the traditional world, I would really take a hard look at how it's going to be disrupted and make sure that either you're an agent of change for your company in this new world, and you're with a company who will or that will change, as opposed to a company tried and true, we've always done it this way, our way or the highway.
Right.
So just make sure. And, again, I always say, make your boss look brilliant is the best strategy longer term. And many younger people coming into the workforce now know so much more about technologies in their everyday lives than their bosses. So I think it's actually going to be easier to make an impact as a young person today than it might have been 10 years ago, because the technologies are changing so quickly. And the younger people entering the workforce today are more digitally native, and everything's the digital and the physical are converging.
Yeah.
We do our top-down research, which is all about sizing the markets, figuring out the unit economics. Then we have our bottom-up stock research-driven thought processes. And then we have an overlay, which is all about innovation. It's a 6-metric scoring system. The first is people, management, and culture. I am maniacally following management changes over time, seeing who's coming, who's going, and because it really makes a huge difference to a company. So when we talk about management, people, and culture, we're talking about a visionary leader. And in our world, which is all the technologically enabled world, it is that leader typically has a different point of view about how the world is going to work out, very different from the traditional point of view. And Tesla is a great case in point. We're known for our Tesla investing, as you mentioned. And Elon Musk figured out that he could leverage the consumer electronics industry to build an electric vehicle when auto manufacturers and auto analysts were laughing at him, saying, oh, yeah, well, look at those batteries are blowing up in planes. You're going to put that in a car? Well, guess what? He did it and still has a lead in batteries. Right. And he's also the only auto manufacturer to design an artificial intelligence chip. So he's taking a leaf from Apple's book. Remember in the day, the old cell phone days, it was Nokia, Ericsson, Motorola, BlackBerry maybe. Where are they now? Right. They missed the plot. They lost the plot. Why? They did not design, as Apple did, a chip for smartphones, a computer in your pocket. Right. They weren't thinking that way. They were thinking more about fashion, actually. I remember it very well. Elon's doing the same thing. But the most important thing a leader of a public company today has to do is stand up against short-term oriented investors, and I would say public and private world. Stand up against them and say, we need to invest aggressively now in order to capitalize, to get there first. Because with artificial intelligence as the glue in much of innovation today, the companies with the largest pools of data, the best domain expertise in their own industries, the best AI expertise, is probably going to win a winner-take-most market. It's going to be quite something, autonomous driving. The company that gets someone from point A to point B safely and quickly is going to be the winner. The safety is going to be paramount, right. And once the reputation starts building, then the network will grow fairly rapidly. So standing up against short-term oriented investors to invest aggressively against the vision. And, of course, as a good leader, in terms of Ark, in founding it, a good leader always has to be willing, this is a fine distinction because of what I just told you, to pivot.
Sure.
And in our case, it wasn't a pivot away from our core competency, which was an exclusive focus on disruptive innovation and an open research ecosystem. It was more the package in which we would deliver this. Would it be an ETF, which is where we started and where we are doing very well right now? But we were persona non grata when we first started because that was supposed to be a passive wrapper, didn't we understand? So we did pivot to separately managed accounts in order to accommodate other kinds of clients. So pivoting not strategically but tactically is also quite important.